Hello, and welcome to Boneheaded Sports Podcast. I believe this is episode 20, and it has been a while since we recorded an episode. A lot's been going on in our lives. A lot. I started school. Joaquin also started school, but he's working a full-time job on top of school, and I only have part-time. But it's been really difficult for us to be able to put together a time that we are both available. So for the foreseeable future, it most likely will just be a solo podcast, and he'll probably do some guest appearances now and then. Um, it, it's sad. I loved having him on this podcast, and I would take him back in a heartbeat, but that's just life. And so for the time being, also, I've shaved my face and my hair since our last episode, so I look completely different from the last time. But I am Zach, and I am now your solo host. Um, and let's get right into it. So, thank you, first of all, for coming out, listening to this episode. Please share it with your friends, everyone you know if you enjoy. We are on Spotify, YouTube, um, and iTunes, and we also have a TikTok and a Twitter. Um, this is sort of going to be a rebranding for me, kind of. I'm gonna, I'm gonna try to find. It's gonna be one of my top priorities, getting content out for this podcast. With life and everything going on, I kind of just brushed it aside, but throughout the past couple weeks, I've been really missing it, and so let's get started. Today we're gonna start with the NBA. We're gonna talk about some of the recent NBA news, and then after that, we're gonna dive into our the first week of the NFL, and we should be back next Tuesday, doing a recap of the first week. So look for that. We're gonna recap every game. Tuesday morning it should be out, or I'm recording it Tuesday morning, so Tuesday afternoon it should be out. But let's get right into it. So we're going to start with NBA. Some of the most recent news, I'm sure you've all heard by now, is the Donovan Mitchell trade to the Cavaliers. So the Cavaliers sent they sent Laurie Markkanen, Ochai Abad. Sorry if I butchered this name. Agbaji. Colin Sexton in a sign and trade, three unprotected first rounds, and two pick swaps. So this is big. It makes the Cavs a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, and it puts them right up there, in my opinion, with the top people in the East. They're not, maybe not at the top, but like Heat tier, like they could make some noise. And do I think that the the Cavaliers gave up too much for Donovan Mitchell? There's only one way to tell, and we'll see in the future how this whole thing, like how he plays with them, how if he buys into the Cavaliers and isn't just there because he was forced to be there, kind of like Kawhi Leonard. Well, Kawhi Leonard won a chip, but as soon as his contract was up, he left Toronto in a heartbeat. But the good thing about Donovan is he's only 25. He's on contract for another 2 years and then has a third-year player option. So this core is going to be together for the foreseeable future and will have the opportunity to grow together. So their projected starting five is you have Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and then at the three you either have Karis LeVert or whoever they decide to put in there. And I think this is this is a lot for the Cavaliers. Now this is the best Cavaliers team without LeBron that we have seen in a long time, and they're making a lot of the right moves in order to become a successful franchise outside of LeBron, which I really think is what they want to be. Because if your success for your entire franchise's history has been solely based off of one person, That's not a good look. But sorry, getting a drink there. My Chick-fil-A that I had for dinner. Um, but the Cavaliers now looking pretty fun. I'm really excited to watch this team and what they have to offer this season. Scoring wise, I think they'll be okay. Evan Mobley, the Cleveland Cavaliers' ultimate success relies on Evan Mobley taking that leap. The second year leap, we already know he's an all NBA defender, but if his offense can also take the leap, the Cavs are going to be a scary team. Because Jared Allen, All Star, Donovan, All Star, Garland, All Star, Mobley, future All Star in my opinion. Um, it's basically inevitable unless some horrific injury, which hopefully I am not wishing for in any way that happens. Um, but all of this Cavs success rides on they're betting on Evan Mobley. It's kind of like the NFL like comparison to where you have a quarterback on a rookie contract that's really good, and you're gonna go out and spend a bunch of money while you have him for cheaper. Cause once Evan Mobley like reaches his potential, which he should in like 2 years, 3 years probably, you're gonna have to pay him, Donovan if you want to keep him around, Garland they already paid, and Jarrett Allen. And it's going to be hard to be able to pay all those guys market value. And but they have at least probably 2 or 3 years before they have to worry about that. And their bench is looking they're really good. Um, and they're going to be really fun to watch this year. And I don't think that they gave up too much. For an all-star that's going to put you over the top, over the hill, in my opinion, there's really nothing that will be too much for Donovan Mitchell's what top 20, top 25-ish player, and for a player like that, they don't grow on trees. And getting one of those on top of Garland on already another top 30 player, it's gonna be great. And then Mobley, who has top 10 player upside, in my opinion, like if he reaches what everyone thinks can reach, he can be a top 10 player, no doubt in my mind. Um, the losers for in this trade are the Knicks and the Heat. Um, we all know that the Heat desperately needed to do something this offseason in order to get them over the ECF slump that they've been in. And of course, the Knicks now are stuck in mediocrity once again. They were riding on the hope that all offseason they'd be getting Donovan Mitchell. They offered RJ Barrett and all these picks, and Jazz said, "Fuck you, Knicks. I don't want to trade with you." So they didn't trade with the Knicks. And the Heat, who knows, man. I love the Heat, but they did not do anything this offseason except lose PJ Tucker, and I think they're going to start to decline this year. I think they're on the down, the Cavs are on the up, and the Heat just missed out. They just missed out, and they're gonna bite the bullet for that. Maybe not this next year, but in the future, Jimmy Butler's getting older, and he's not gonna be the same player he is forever. And it just saddens me to see that usually the Heat are very aggressive, and Pat Riley is willing to do anything that it takes to win, but apparently trading for Donovan Mitchell wasn't something he wanted to pay a bunch of money for, and that is where that's left off. But the projections for this season for the Cavaliers for me is I think their ceiling is a top four seed. I feel like they're gonna reside somewhere between the four and like the six, the 4, 5, or 6 seed, because they're not better than the Bucks, they're not better than the Celtics, they're not better than the Sixers. But after that, they're better than the Bulls in my opinion, better than the Raptors, around the same caliber as the Heat. Um, the Nets, they're not better than the Nets yet. So probably 5 to 7 range. The East is looking pretty good, but if they stay healthy and play all season together, which is a big if nowadays, um, I could see this team looking really, really dangerous and maybe make it to the second. A win for this team this season would make it to the second round. You don't got to make it to the ECF. You just got to make it to the second round, and this season is a success. Um, but now I'm gonna talk about some of the teams I'm excited for or were excited for. I'll get to why I say were in a little bit. But this season, I'm gonna list the 7 or 8 teams I'm excited for. And I'm really interested in. So, sorry, give me 1 second. The first is I'm gonna go in order on how excited I am for them. The first is the Pelicans. All offseason, I've been on the Pelicans hype train. I think that they could have that Memphis type leap this year. Maybe if maybe better, cause Brandon Ingram's trending up. CJ McCollum's still a dog. Zion's coming back, and if Zion stays healthy and they are able to put all these pieces together, they can be a scary team. So scary. Like Zion, they were good at the end of last season, almost upset the 1 seed, and they're getting a top 10 talent in the NBA. Like that's just something that is gonna change their future. Like it's gonna make them so much better than they were last year, getting Zion back. And like, how can you not be excited for the Pelicans? They have Zion, Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, Jonas Valanciunas is still good. Herb Jones into his second year. Jose Alvarado going into his second year. Like, there's talent all over this team, and it just depends on if they could put it all together with Zion there. But I believe that they'll be able to, and Zion will buy into that. I am excited for the Cavs, but I already went into why I'm excited for them. The Twin Towers, and it's ironic that you have the Twin Towers, and then you have like the shortest backcourt with like 2'6'1" guards. Like that's so funny. I feel like at the three they'll need to play a bigger three. So Karis LeVert would be my pick for the three. I got a really itchy head here. I was my third was the Thunder. Um, but sadly Chet Holmgren got injured. Um, Very sad. He was in the Drew League, and it was a non-contact injury, and he's out for the entire season, or most of the season, which they'll probably be cautious and just sit him the entire season. And that really, really sucks for the Thunder and just their plans for this season, because I feel like they could have like competed for maybe like that 10 seed play-in spot if everything went well. But now with Chet out for the whole season, I don't believe that. I still believe they're gonna have another top draft pick next year. Like they're gonna have so many young players that they can't play them all. Um, uh, Next up, I'm excited for the Clippers. I'm really excited for the Clippers. If they stay healthy, if Kawhi comes back in as Kawhi, we saw Paul George is still Paul George. And I'm excited to see what John Wall still has left. He could still provide that really good defense that he's known for. We'll see what his offensive abilities are at this age, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Clippers will be up there with the best in the West. I didn't mean to rhyme that intentionally, but it just happened that way. Um, Next up, the Nuggets. Jokic coming off his back-to-back MVP seasons, probably or not probably, is a top 5 player in the NBA right now. And you're getting two bona fide all-star caliber players back this season. If all of the Nuggets potential this season is riding off of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. staying healthy. Jamal Murray, I'm not as worried about. It's just Michael Porter Jr. with the chronic back issues that I'm really worried about. Honestly, I hope that he can find a way to stop that back can stop fucking him up. But what's it looking like right now? It's gonna be a big hindrance for him for his entire career. And then the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves obviously have so much talent on that roster. They traded for Rudy Gobert this offseason, and you could move Cat to the 4 now. Gobert at the 5. Anthony Edwards is only going to get better. You still have D'Lo. They did trade Pat Bev away, but I don't think that it's going to be too huge of a loss. And I'm really excited to see what the T-Wolves are if they can actually get over that hump, because they blew multiple 20-point leads in that playoffs, and they should have beat Memphis in that series last year. But I think that if they had Rudy Gobert, they probably would have won those series because he's just all NBA defender. He's okay on offense, but their offense isn't really what slacked. Their defense is what was slacking last year. And bringing in a top 3 NBA defender to your team is definitely gonna bolster. Without Gobert, the Jazz's defense was bad, but every time he was in, they had like a top. They went from a bottom 5 defense to a top 5 defense with Gobert, and he's just that kind of player. And then lastly, the Magic. Now that Chet is out, I think Paolo is runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year. Maybe Jaden Ivey, maybe Keegan Murray. Um, but they have Franz Wagner, Paolo, Cole Anthony, all these young guys. Jalen Suggs, Jalen Suggs, I believe. Sorry, I'm names, but remembering all these names between the NFL and the NBA is really tough for me. So I'm looking at their roster right now. Let's see. Yeah, you have Jalen Suggs. I was right. So you have all this young talent, and they're just gonna continue to grow, to continue to get better, and it's going to be really fun to watch. Okay, so moving on, we're going to flip over to the NFL. We're going to So recent NFL news before we get into the predictions. My Bills tight end Dawson Knox signs a 4-year, $53 million extension and 4-year, $53 million extension, and I think that's good for the Bills. He's a good tight end, and he has really good, really good. He has the potential to be a top 5 tight end. So good for the Bills. Good for Dawson Knox getting the bank. And then Emmanuel Sanders did retire this morning. As of September 7th, Emmanuel Sanders is officially retired. What a legend, what a goat. Maybe not a goat, but one of the more consistently good wide receivers in the course of the NFL. Sad to see him never get that ring. Really wish he would have gotten it with San Francisco, but Jimmy G overthrew him, and that was that. Um, Glad that have him on the Bills. He played well last season, and I hope his retirement treats him well. So now we're gonna get into our Week 1 predictions. I know me and Joaquin went through our season predictions, but that was over about a month ago, so a lot's changed since then. But my general predictions are still going to be the same, but I'm still going to do week-to-week predictions based on news and injuries and everything like that. So first off, tomorrow night, my Bills are heading to LA to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Bills are scheduled. The Bills are favored the Bills are 2.5 point favorites, and my bias might be a little biased, but I think the Bills are gonna win, not easily, but I think they come out with the win. I'm not gonna do exact scores because it's really hard to predict exact scores in the NFL. So I'm just gonna give my general winner and what about that game I'm excited for. So I'm excited to see Gabe Davis and see how Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier's game plan without Trey White against Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and the Rams offense. Um, I'm also excited to see Matt Stafford coming off of his Super Bowl. A lot of news about his elbow and how that might hinder him this season. But I have the Bills winning because I'm always gonna pick the Bills to win because they're my team. But I hope they win. If not, I just hope it'll be like a very close and interesting game, and I think it's gonna be a good game to watch. Unfortunately, I won't. I'll be at school during the game, and I cannot watch it during school, so I won't be able to watch like most of the game, which is really I won't be able to watch the first couple of the Bills games because of school and work and everything. But yeah, I'm focusing on me, so it is what it is. Anyway, so on to Sunday. We're gonna start with the 1 o'clock games. I'm just going if you want to follow along. I'm on ESPN, just going right down the list. So the first game is the Saints Falcons. Um, New Orleans is favored by 5.5. I don't think there's really much to discuss. I think the Saints are gonna win pretty easily. I think they're a lot better team than the Atlanta Falcons. I like Jameis Winston. Michael Thomas is going to be back. Alvin Kamara is still there. Basically, at every position except at every position, basically the Saints are better than the Falcons. Um, and that's about it. I mean, the coaching's better, the roster's better. I don't think that Atlanta really has a shot in this game, but it is the NFL, so anything can happen. But I think the Saints are going to win pretty comfortably. So on to the next game, the 49ers and Bears, same kind of situation as the previous. Um, I think the 49ers are going to win pretty easily unless Trey Lance. San Francisco's favored by a touchdown. Unless Trey Lance comes out and throws a stinker and throws like 3 picks and the Bears offense somehow decides to actually score points, which I don't think they will be able to easily this year because their roster is absolutely atrocious. Um, I think that the Niners basically win this pretty easily. They're probably going to be up by halftime and just like run out, just like run them to death. Um, and I have the 49ers winning. I'm excited to see Trey Lance in his first game as a full-time starter. Um, MVP Trey Lance MVP season. I'm telling you. Um, so the next game, Steelers Bengals. Um, I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think people see the Steelers as a joke this year, which the roster isn't the best. Their offensive line is kind of trash, and their defense is not as good as it used to be, but they're still probably going to be competitive, and people seem to forget that Mike Tomlin is an amazing coach. I'm picking the Bengals to win. They are favored by 6.5, but I think they'll win by a field goal. Um, but the Steel Mitchell Trubisky has been named the official starter for the time being, so we get to see the MVP back as a starter. I think sitting behind Josh Allen and the Bills for a year hopefully made him better. Made him grow as a quarterback and be able to become at least not maybe not a franchise, but like because they have Kenny Pickett, they're like, oh, we're gonna go with Kenny Pickett, but he could be a good like duct tape quarterback, like a Jimmy G kind of Jared Goff kind of guy, where he's good enough to win you some games, but not good enough to take you to a Super Bowl, like right in the middle. Like he could play pretty well. On to the next game, Eagles Lions. Um, I think the Eagles are gonna win. The Eagles are favored by 4. However, I am on the Lions train. I think they're gonna be quite surprising. I predicted them to go. Let me see. I believe I predicted them to go 10-7 this year, which I'm still sticking by. It's not entirely It's entirely possible if you look at their schedule. Their schedule is relatively easy this year. Um, so I think that though the Lions do lose this game, I think that they're competitive, and the Eagles overall have the best, like one of the best rosters right now. But it's all depending on if Jalen Hurts can evolve as a passer and if they're able to put it all together. Um, but I have the Eagles winning against the Lions this Sunday. Um, next up, we have the Patriots and the Dolphins. The Miami's favored by 3.5. It's in Miami. I think I think the Dolphins win this game because the Patriots have been not historically, but like recently not perform as well in Miami for some reason, even when Tom Brady was there. But the Patriots roster is so bad that it's gonna hard for me to pick. The only redeeming thing about the Patriots this season is Bill Belichick is their coach and Mac Jones is a decent quarterback, like a Jimmy G type quarterback. We'll see how Tua does, how Tyreek does, if Jalen Waddle's able to play. There's some injury concerns there. But this season for the Dolphins, I'm excited to see what Tua does. I hope he proves me wrong, but as of the time being, I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. I think he's mediocre at best. But we'll see if he what the Dolphins come out with, especially with the new head coach, new offensive scheme, basically a really good tight end, or not tight end, wide receiver in Tyreek Hill. And we'll see what their defense is like without Brian Flores. Because with Brian Flores, it was really good, but let's see what their new defense looks like under the new regime. And it's hard for me to pick a winner. Um, I think I'm gonna pick the Patriots because I feel like the coaching experience will be there. He'll have his guys more ready week 1 than the Dolphins will, and I just think they're gonna be more prepared. Um, but that's a hot take. I'm sure a lot of people are on the Dolphins train. Next up, we have the Ravens and the Jets. So Zach Wilson is confirmed to be out for at least the first 4 weeks, so we will see Joe Flacco against his former team in the Ravens. I'm really excited for that. Joe Flacco elite narrative all day, baby. But we'll see what Joe Flacco still has left, if anything. But I think the Ravens win this pretty handedly. I think they get up early and just hold the lead the entire game. Um, the Ravens are favored by an entire like 7 points, but I don't think that I think they win by more than 7 points. So do with that what you will. I'm not trying to disrespect the Jets, but I just think the Ravens are that good, and Joe Flacco is not that good, or at least what we've seen recently. Um, but into a more not interesting maybe, but Jaguars Commanders. I don't know how Washington's favored. I like Jacksonville more in this one. I can call it an upset, but I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to come outperform Carson Wentz. I think that the Jaguars win here. I think Doug Peterson proves that he can or it starts to prove that he can. He's still a pretty good coach. I mean, he won a Super Bowl 5 years ago. He's obviously no slouch of a coach. And I just think that the Jaguars not make a statement, but they come out with a win in the opening week. And how it is in FedEx Field though in Maryland, so home field. I mean, the Commanders don't really have home field advantage. Let's be honest, no one likes them. Um, but I think the Jaguars come out. Trevor Lawrence balls out. The Jaguars win. Um, Interesting storyline on this next one. Browns Panthers Baker Mayfield revenge game. Carolina's favored by 1.5 points. It's in Charlotte, in North Carolina. So I believe that the Panthers will win. No Deshaun Watson. Your offensive line's kind of beat up. Browns. I think that Baker Mayfield comes out and proves that he can still be a franchise. Yes, I said franchise quarterback. Because the one year he was healthy in Cleveland, they made the playoffs and won a playoff game. He was hurt one season and they threw him out to the dogs. They traded him away and went for Deshaun Watson. In my opinion, really disrespectful to Baker Mayfield because he did more to that for that franchise than any quarterback in recent Browns history did. Let's be honest. And maybe more than what Deshaun Watson will do. Last time we seen him was 2 years ago. In the preseason, he looked like ass. So who knows if he's still this top 5, top 10 quarterback everyone thinks he is. He shouldn't even be playing at all this year, in my opinion. It's kind of ridiculous how he only got suspended for 11 games. But we are that there's nothing that we can do about it. The decision's already been made, but I hope the fucking Panthers win. I'm rooting for Baker Mayfield here. Um, On to the last of the 1 o'clock games, the Colts Texans. Um, Not really much to say. We'll see what Davis Mills does, but I'm more excited for the Colts. Let's see how Matt Ryan and how the new quarterback Matt Ryan does. I think the Colts will win this pretty easily. There's no doubt in my mind that they win. Usually, sometimes they could get off to slow starts though, so an upset is possible. But I, based off of what I know about the Colts and what I know about the Texans, the Colts should win this game. Should. That's the important part. So on to the 4 o'clock games. We have the Titans and Giants. The Titans are favored by 5.5. I think the Titans come out win. I'm not really high on the Giants this season. I think the Titans come out win. Derrick Henry's back. I think he is able to replicate his previous season's rushing success. Pre- but we'll see what Ryan Tannehill is still. We'll see what Treylon Burks can do. Excited for him, but the wide receiver core for the Titans is looking pretty suspect right now, so we'll get to see that. But not really much else to say about that game. The Packers and Vikings. I have the Vikings winning. I think I like their offense a lot better. Green Bay has the better defense, but Jay Jettis, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen's gonna be back. I'm on the Vikings this season. I'm on the Vikings this season. I think they have the potential to. I have them winning the division, so I obviously think that they can be really good this season. And I think they come out with a statement win against Green Bay and win by a touchdown, not even by a field goal, by a touchdown. I think they win by a touchdown. Um, that might be progressive. That might be a hot take, but That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to that. So, on to the next Chiefs Cardinals. The Chiefs are favored by 6 points. I think I think the Chiefs come out, prove that they're still top of the top in the AFC. Um, I did have the Cardinals winning when in my season predictions, but because usually the Cardinals come out super hot and then get worse as the season goes on. But I think that without D Hop and their defense losing Chandler Jones, it's going to be really hard for them to compete with the top teams in the NFL this season. So I have Patrick Mahomes coming out slinging it around like he normally does. Tyreek Hill losing him, probably their offense won't miss a beat. I pray for the downfall of the Chiefs, but I know it's not going to happen, at least not yet, until at least Travis Kelce either retires or leaves, which I don't think he'll leave. I think he'd rather retire before playing for another team. But I think the Chiefs win pretty handily. But on to the next game, the Raiders and Chargers. Probably one of the games I'm most excited for this slate. I have the Raiders winning. I think the Chargers still are going to take some time to figure it out because they're the Chargers and they always seem to mess up what they should win. Which I still have them winning the division, but I think it's going to take them a game or two to get their feet wet, to basically get up to that potential that everyone is saying that they can be the best team in the AFC. Which, as a Bills fan, I get angry at people saying Chargers is better than the Bills. Josh Allen's better than Justin Herbert. Like, I think I think the Raiders come out and prove people that they're still there. They're still a really good team. Their defense might be sus a little bit, but they can still be a top team in the AFC if if they fix that defense, if they play well. They don't even need the defense to be that good because their offense is so amazing that their defense just need to be mediocre at best. Um, and you have Sunday night Buccaneers Cowboys. It's interesting that it's the rematch of last season's season opener. They played each other week 1 last season as well. Um, I got the Buccaneers winning pretty easily. The Cowboys rosters got pretty beat up. They lost a couple. They lost Tyron Smith or they lost that offensive lineman. I think it was Tyron Smith in the preseason, and I just think that so much is on Dak's shoulders that it's gonna be hard to ask him to come out and beat probably one like the second best team in the NFC like week 1. I just don't think that the talent around him is there anymore. Or and Mike McCarthy's their coach, so I don't think that the coaching will take them over that issue either. And then Monday night game, you have Denver at Seattle. Um, Interesting story, but that's about it. Other than the storyline of Russell Wilson returning to Seattle, um, nothing's really interesting. The Seahawks, I'd be surprised if they won a game this year. They're so fucking bad that I think the Broncos win easily, probably by 1 or 2. Like probably, I feel confident enough that the Broncos are gonna win. That I feel confident enough saying that they'll win by 2 scores. I don't think that's a bizarre statement, and I'm gonna sit on that. So thank you. That's all I have for this episode. Thank you all for coming out listening. Remember to follow on TikTok, on Twitter. I'm posting when these videos go out on Twitter. So, and I'll be posting that this video's out on TikTok. Um, Make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the bell. Share this with your friends if you enjoy. And you guys, we'll be back Tuesday to recap the Sunday games. And you guys have a great rest of your days or nights wherever you are. Peace.